everyone, welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we will be completing in today's video, this fun koi fish drawing. It is super simple. It might look challenging, but it is not. Super simple, super fun. So if you are new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and subscribe. I also offer extra tutorials over on Patreon, so if you join us over there, you get access to a few exclusive tutorials every month, as well as sneak peeks to what we're drawing over here on YouTube. So that's linked in the description below if you'd like to check that out. But before we get started on today's drawing, the only thing that you will need to do is download the color palette. I have it linked in the description below. It's totally free to download. Just save the file to your iPad and then double tap it or click on it and click open in Procreate, and it will automatically pop into Procreate so that you can use the same colors as you follow along with the video today. And then I will also post the canvas dimension, color profile, and layers needed on the screen and in the description below so that you can use those to set up your canvas. So take a minute to get everything ready and then come back and we will get started. Okay, this is the color palette that we'll be working with today. So let's just go ahead and get started. We're gonna first make our background, which is gonna be a gradient of these first two colors. It'll be lighter on top, darker on bottom. So we will just be on layer 1 here. Let's grab our first color on the first row and drag and drop it to fill the whole canvas. And then still on layer 1, we're just gonna grab our second color on the top row, grab our selection tool, switch it to rectangle and turn on color fill. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit so I can see the edges of my canvas. And starting in the top left, I'm going to draw down and to the right, covering about half of it, the top half here, and then let that go to let it fill in. Click our selection tool to turn it off, and now we can blur the two colors together. So we'll go to our wand icon, click Gaussian blur, and we'll drag this up a good ways to maybe like 60 to 70%, somewhere in there, so we get a really good gradient. Awesome. Now we're just going to add a little bit of texture to the bottom here. So to do that, we'll go to our layer menu, add a new layer above this one, and click the N on this layer and set it to multiply. Grab our next color in line, third one on the top row, and we will then grab our grunge brush under the textures category. I have the opacity of that over here set to like 60. I have my size set to 100. And I am just going to kind of lightly go around and add some of this texture, kind of like pushing harder in some areas and lighter in others to get like a good kind of variety of this texture going. So just go over it once or twice, nothing too crazy. We want to still see like a good amount of just our plain color. And then that is it for the bottom of our like pond or whatever these fish are going to be in. So that being said, we're going to go straight into drawing our fish. So this will be a very, very fun process, not too hard, I promise. So on our layer menu, let's add a new layer. We're going to grab the first of our fish colors, our body color, which is going to be the second one on the second row, and grab our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. My opacity of the brush is at 100. My size will do like 20. And we are just going to first draw a vertical oval to get his body started. So a nice, good, kind of long oval like so. Hold that down until it turns perfectly smooth. And then I like to touch the screen to make it like perfectly vertical, but nice and kind of long. And then let's go ahead and fill that in. Okay, then we're going to grab it with our arrow tool. And if you need to like resize it on freeform or uniform, you can. But the most important thing we're going to do is go to warp. And the bottom area here is going to be his head. So I am going to stretch out this corner and the other corner quite a bit, just straight left and right to make it kind of wider there. And then same thing on the top, this is going to go into his tail, so we want this to be pretty skinny. So I'm going to bring in the top corner, right and left, to kind of make this like oblong egg kind of shape. So that's going to be the start of our fish. So then I'm going to switch back to uniform, and I might rotate it to the right a little bit, the top part, so that he's facing kind of like down into the left. And I'm just going to kind of place him like you know, in the middle here, or resize him a little bit. I might make him a little smaller. We still need room for his tail in the upper part here. So I'm gonna make it a little smaller so we have room for the tail, and then he's not quite all the way to the bottom, because then our other one is gonna kind of come in a little bit lower. So I might place him kind of here. Okay, and then on the same layer with our same pen, we're gonna finish off his like tail area. So this is all good. This is his head and his body. And then right at the back here, we're gonna kind of flip it this way to go into his tail. So starting on like the right side of this like top point, I'm gonna kind of come off that and curve to the right or curve to the left a little bit. Hold that down if you wish to, and it'll automatically smooth out into an arc. And then if you click this arc button at the top, you can kind of adjust it. But again, I just want like a very brief little kind of curve there. Okay, then we're going to kind of curve back into the body as well. So starting at that point, I'm going to kind of curve back to meet up with the other side so it gets a little thicker there. I held that one down also. And then we'll fill it in. And then you can make any other adjustments that you wish to. I'm going to kind of thicken it up a little bit, kind of right here where it meets up with the body. Kind of some quick, smooth lines. But that looks good for his tail. I'm going to grab it again with my arrow tool on uniform and maybe downsize it, maybe rotate it a little bit more, kind of whatever you wish to do, place it right about there. Okay, and then to make it easier, we're going to use the same shape for the other one, but we'll draw the fins separately so that they look different. So I'm going to go to my layer menu and make a duplicate of this shape, grab it with our arrow tool, and click flip horizontal. And then it's kind of facing the other way. So I'm going to move it down here and kind of place it like so, kind of re-move them around to get like a good kind of idea of where they're going to be. So maybe something kind of like this. Okay, so those are our two bodies. I might also like rotate this one a little bit more to the left so that they're a little bit different looking. Okay. So now we can go ahead and add the fins for each of them. We'll start and continue on with our right one first. So that's my bottom one on my layer menu here. So I'm going to add a layer right below it. And this will be for my first three fins, and then my second two fins will be above it. So for our fin color, that's going to be our third one on the second row, same monoline brush. And let's start with our back fin. Okay, and so that's where we need just like a little bit of room off the top of our rightmost fish here, and we're going to start right at the tip of the tail, and we're going to kind of come off into like a little curve, and that'll kind of start our fin. It's going to go to this side, so then I'm going to kind of bring a line down this way, maybe a slight curve to it, nothing too crazy, and then we'll kind of curve back into the body like this. Connect it so that we have a shape to fill in, and that's the start of our tail. I'm going to grab my eraser tool, which I also have set to the monoline brush. My size for that is going to be at 10%. And I'm going to go through and make a couple little cuts through the fin. So just on this like vertical edge here, I'm going to kind of cut in with like a quick little cut like that, like a little tiny triangle, maybe something kind of like this. Beautiful. Okay, back to my pen. That's it for the back tail. For now, we'll add some details to it later. But now we're going to do the side fins that are also underneath our fish. So they're going to come from the left and right side of like his body or chest area, kind of like not towards the middle, closer to the face. So maybe I'll start this one right about here, and I'll kind of come out with like some little waviness, come back in with some waviness. It's kind of a wavy triangle connected at the base so we can fill it in. Same thing on the other side now, some wavy lines, connect at the base, fill it in. Something like that, they can be like a little different, like this one's a lot shorter. I can kind of maybe extend this one a little bit to make them look a little bit more similar. But something like that is good. If you need to like move them around or anything, you can always grab them with your selection tool. Since all three of these are on the same layer, you can grab your selection tool, switch it to freehand, turn off color fill, and you can like grab this one, arrow tool, and kind of like move it if you need to. So I'm going to move mine up just a little bit on his like body area to be a little bit more in line with the other one, like so. Okay, so those are the three bottom fins. Let's go ahead and add the three bottom fins for the other fish while we're here on the same layer. So we're gonna just move on over here and do kind of the same exact thing. So coming from the tail, we're gonna come out, make a kind of like vertical-ish line, kind of wavy, come back into the body at a curve, connect it, fill it in, and then we'll go in with our eraser and make some quick little cuts to it. Something like that. Again, kind of different than our other one a little bit. Okay, and then the two more front fins. So I'll start here, make some kind of wavy lines. Connect, fill in. Connect, fill in. Smooth those out or adjust them if you need to. Okay, and then that's it for our bottom fins. Now we'll add the top fins. We'll add those above the bodies. So let's add a new layer above the two bodies. And for each one, we'll have just like two more fins, one kind of like in the top middle, and then maybe one coming off the side of its body. So let's start with this kind of like top-ish, middle-ish one. So maybe like a little bit behind where our two front fins are. We'll start there. Okay, and we want this first one that we draw to go off the left side, like the same direction as our back fin. So we'll just kind of do like a little triangle again, wavy triangle, connect it kind of across the back, and then fill it in. And then they have like a few of these. So then I'll go down a little bit further and make one going off the other side, connect back, fill in. Okay, then same thing on our left fish. So again, starting off just right below our front fins, this one's gonna go in the same direction as the tail. So again, like a little kind of couple wavy lines, connect across the back, fill it in, go down a little further from that and do it off the other side and fill it in. So those are our fins. Feel free to adjust those if you need to. Okay. Lastly, we forgot the little like kind of whiskery looking things in the front. So I'm going to go back to my bottom layer with our bottom fins and we're going to do it on that layer. So same color and everything. I'm going to start on the right one off the front of the face here. We're just going to kind of make some thin little lines kind of coming out, kind of wavy like so. Same thing on our other fish. Hopefully not overlapping, but if you do overlap, that's okay. Beautiful. Now let's go ahead and start adding some details to them. So let's just continue on with our fins since we're on those already. So let's go to our bottom fin layer, click on it and turn on alpha lock. Okay, and we're going to grab the next color in line, fourth one on the second row. And we are going to grab our dry ink brush under the inking category. My brush opacity is set to 100, size set to maybe 10. And we're just going to go through and add some kind of lines through our fins. So let's start with our back fin. So I'm just going to kind of make some quick lines through it to kind of match like the shape of it and the angle of it. So just some really quick lines, kind of curving and stuff to add some like veining. Okay, we'll do the same thing for the other back fin while we're here. Okay, and then we're going to do similar things to the other fins as well. So we're on our back fins. So again, just pick each other fin. Now we'll move on to our side fins and we'll kind of just do some more like quick veining through them, nice and curvy. Awesome. Same thing for our other side fins. Beautiful. Nothing on our little like front whiskery looking fins. So then let's move on to our top fin layer on our layer menu. Click on that one and turn on alpha lock and we'll do the same thing. Same color, same brush and everything. Awesome. Okay. Lastly, we're going to do some kind of shadows and highlights to our fins. And we're going to do a similar thing to our fish when we get there. So this will be kind of our first time doing it. So let's again go back to our backmost fin layer, add a layer on top of it. Click on that layer and set it to a clipping mask so we only draw within our shapes. And click the N and set it to multiply. Okay, so this will give us some good shadows. So then we're going to switch to our next color, fifth one on the second row. And we're going to switch to our texture brush, which today is going to be the To Be Compressed Charcoals brush under the Charcoals category. Find that. I have my opacity at 100, my size at like maybe 8 or 7 or 6, somewhere in there, whatever you feel comfortable with. And we're going to do some quick shadows kind of around the edges. And we're just going to do the edges like closest to the body and the sides, not the tips. We'll highlight those. So again, just kind of the bottom edges and close to the body. Okay, so for all of our back fins on each fish there, let's go ahead and also add a little bit near the face on our front little whiskery fins. Okay. Then we're going to add a highlight as well. So on our layer menu, add another new layer right above the one we were just on. Click on it and set it to a clipping mask again and click the N and this time set it to overlay. And we are going to use the same color. And now we'll just kind of do this on the tips. And this will give us like a brief highlight. Our color is pretty light, so it won't highlight a ton, but it gives us just a little bit of a highlight and a little bit more added texture there. So I did the back fin and the side fins. Awesome. Let's go ahead now, and that's it for those fins. Let's do the same thing to our top fin. So find our top fin layer, new layer, clipping mask. We'll set the first one to multiply. Same color, same brush and everything. Again, kind of towards the base and the sides. Okay. Layer menu, new layer. Another clipping mask, this time overlay for some highlights. And again, we'll just kind of highlight the tips and the middles of the fins a little bit. Beautiful. So that's it for the fins on our fish. So that is all that we're doing there. Now we're going to move on to the actual fish bodies. And on our layer menu right now, they're separate, but we can go ahead and snap them together if you're okay with that onto one layer so that we can do everything all at once to them. So with that snap together, we'll add a new layer above it. We'll click on it and set it to a clipping mask, just a normal layer this time. We're first gonna add our color. So we'll grab our first color on the second row. We'll switch back to our monoline brush. And now we're just gonna add these kind of patches of color to each fish. So we're just gonna start with the tail. So I'm gonna come off the side of the tail here, make some kind of like quick little wavy lines, and then we need to connect our shape to fill it in. So I'm going all the way around and connecting it to the beginning, all the way around this back side of the fish. And then I can fill that in. So that's our first little pop of color. Then we'll just add a few more kind of sections of that. So maybe I'll start like right here and I'll do kind of like another quick wavy patch, connect it, fill it in. Maybe we'll do one kind of coming off the front of his head here, connect it, fill it in, and maybe one more kind of small one there, connect it, fill it in, smooth it out if you need to, but they can be kind of like wavy and fun, obviously. Okay, so that's our first fish. So I did 4 on him. I'll probably do like 4 on the other. I'll probably kind of do a similar thing. Maybe I'll start again at the tail. So coming off the tail, quick little patch, fill it in. Maybe a bigger patch on the body. Fill it in. Maybe another one kind of coming off of his face. Fill it in. And another kind of small one. So they're very similar, but you can totally do them like very differently. But, you know, I made them kind of similar, maybe too similar. Maybe I'll redo those last two because those looked almost identical. And maybe I'll have one kind of come more like this off the side of the face, and then maybe like something like this, a little bit different there. So just a few quick color patches to start our fish. So next up, let's actually go ahead and get the eyes into place so that we can shadow around them. Let's go ahead and add a new layer above the one that we're on right now, just a normal layer, not a clipping mask. And let's grab our first eye color, first one on the bottom row, and we'll make an eye, and then we're going to duplicate it for the others. So I'm just going to make one eyeball here towards the front of this right fish. So a quick circle, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen to make it a perfect circle. Set kind of a really good small size, fill it in. And now we can resize it if we need to. So arrow tool on uniform, you can resize it, but we want them pretty small, little like beady eyes there. So I have one there. I think that looks like a good size. So I'm going to stick with that. And then I'm going to shadow and highlight it really quick. So on our layer menu, just click on this layer and turn on alpha lock. Grab our darker color, second one on the bottom row. Switch back to our charcoal brush, the to be compressed under the charcoals category. And we'll lower our size quite a bit to maybe like 3%. And we're just going to kind of shadow around the outer edge of the eye. So you might not be able to see it on the screen here, but you should be able to see it on your canvas, a quick shadow all the way around that. Then we're going to do a quick highlight in the center. So third color on the bottom row. Same thing, we'll just start kind of in the center and add that as like a quick highlight so we get some good variation and texture on our eyeball. Okay, and that's all we're going to do for now. We'll add another highlight to it once they're all set. But let's go to our layer menu, make a duplicate of this eyeball layer. So slide to the left and hit duplicate. Arrow tool, I'm going to kind of place it on the other side of the head here. So kind of whatever works. I might move them back a little bit on his head, just a smidge. Maybe something kind of like that. Okay, so I'm good with those right there. And then I'm going to go to my layer menu. I'm going to snap those two together and then slide to the left and hit duplicate of the two. Arrow tool, I'm going to move it on over, rotate it a little bit to match my other fish. But that way they're the same size and even the same distance. I'm going to make mine kind of like more up on the side here or on the front side with like a good amount of space off this left one to make a shadow to make it look like he's kind of curving. You're seeing like a little bit more of the side of the face rather than this one, which is kind of straight on. But that's totally up to you. That just kind of is a way that you can like manipulate the angles and stuff just by placing the eyes in different spots. And then now we will highlight them as well. So let's go to my layer menu. I'm going to snap all four of those together now, add a layer right above them, grab my fourth color on the bottom row, and go back to my dry ink brush. And we can leave it at 10%, that's fine, or you can change the size. But essentially on each eye, I'm going to highlight like the top right corner. So I'm just going to add like a little kind of squiggly triangle there. Same thing on the other one. So like all the reflections are kind of in the same spot, even though that's why we didn't place them first, because then we would have rotated them for this one and they would have been in a different spot. So yeah, just the top right corner from where you're looking, like so. Okay, eyes are done. Now we're going to go ahead and do the highlight and shadow to our fish. That's going to really bring it all together, make it very beautiful. This is my favorite part. It like fully transforms the drawing. So let's go to our layer menu and we're going to go back to our orange kind of color layer and add a layer right above that. Click on insert to a clipping mask, clipped again to our bodies. And then this time we'll click the N and set it to multiply. And we'll switch back to our fifth color on the second row. And back to our charcoal brush under the charcoals category, the to be compressed. Okay, we'll up our size back to maybe 10 to start. This is our shadow layer. So we're going to go along the right and left side of the body to add this texture in. kind of all the way around for this fish here on the right side. I'm doing just all the way around the left and right side. Okay, then on our left fish, we're going to kind of focus a little bit more on the left side, like again, like right under his eyeball. We're going to really do a good shadow there along the left side, back to the tail, and then a little bit on the right side still. Maybe just not as much as we see on the left side here. Okay, and we're actually going to do one more shadow color, which is a little bit darker. So the 6th one on the second row, I'll maybe drop the size of my brush a little bit to like 5%, and we'll just focus on the very edges here to add a deeper shadow in certain spots. Beautiful. Same thing on our other fish. Just a little bit of a deeper shadow, mainly again on the left side. Just on the very edges there. Okay, and then we're also going to add a shadow around our fins and our eyes. So let's go back to our previous color, 5th one on the second row, and we'll stick with this like lower 5% size. And we're just going to go around our eyeballs a little bit. And then around the base of our fins on our back. So I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow there as well. That kind of helps like highlight them a little bit better. Beautiful. Same thing on our other fish. Around the eyeball. Around the fins. Awesome. Okay, and then we will go ahead and continue on to our highlight now. So on our layer menu, let's add another new layer. Click on it and set it to a clipping mask. Click the N and set it to overlay this time. And same color, we're going to start with this 5th one on the second row. Same brush, I might up my size back to like 8 to 10%. And we're going to go all along the middle of the back now to give a good highlight there. So basically touching up to our shadow. And we can even go over this, like these shadows in the middle that we created, maybe try to go kind of lightly around them. But you'll still be able to see them even if you go over them a little bit. Same thing on our other fish, all around the back, wherever there is not a shadow. And that helps add some good texture, good variation, good highlight to it. Lots of fun colors. It makes our orange kind of yellow, and it looks very beautiful. Then we're going to add a few brighter highlights with our 4th color on the second row. Same brush, same color. And I'm just going to kind of brighten up some of the highlights, maybe right on his head is all. So just right in that head area there. That's about it, just to really add some extra brightness. Otherwise, everything else can be left the same, and that completes our little fishies. So that is it for all the texturing and everything. So really not too crazy, pretty simple. Now we will go ahead and make the shadows underneath them. So that'll really help bring together the idea that they're kind of floating in the water. So on our layer menu, we are going to take all of our fish layers here and group them together. So we'll leave them all separate. Unless you really want to snap them all together, you can. I know it's a lot of layers already. But otherwise, I'm going to start with my bottommost fish layer right above my layer 2, which was like our background shadow. So right there, I'm going to slide right on every layer above that to get them all selected and then group them together. Okay, then I'm going to click on this new group at the top, click the arrow to minimize it, and then I'm going to slide to the left and hit duplicate. If you have enough layers, it'll duplicate into a new group. So this does make quite a lot of layers. So if this is not working for you, you can go back once you make your original group here. You can snap some stuff together. So like we can snap the whites of our eyes to our eyes. We can snap like our color to our body. We can snap all of our like fin layers with their clipping masks together. You know, maybe you can leave like the body clipping masks separate if you want to, in case you want to go back through and mess with those anymore. So feel free to do that if you need to. But again, then slide to the left and hit duplicate. We need a duplicate of all of our fish layers. Select the bottom group and click on it and click flatten. And now we just have our fishies. Mine is already set to alpha lock, but if yours isn't, click on it and set it to alpha lock. And then grab our third color on the top row, go back to our layer menu and click on this bottom layer that's all snapped together with alpha lock turned on, and click on it and click fill layer. It'll turn them blue, but you won't be able to see them because they're underneath our group of all of our actual layers. Click the N on this layer and slide it up to multiply. And then grab it with your arrow tool and move it down and to the right a bit to get our shadows. So however far away you want to make them, pretty far away is good to show that they're floating quite a bit above the water. If yours go off the screen at all, like my little whisker here is coming off the off the canvas, that's totally fine. We just need a nice, good, far away shadow. So I'm down and to the right. And then that is beautiful. So then the last thing that we need to add is the water, like ripples and stuff on the top, some like bubbles and stuff to really bring it all together. So on our layer menu, let's add a layer to the very top of all of our layers. Grab our bright white color, fourth one on the top row, and our dry ink brush under the inking category. We want some pretty thick lines, so I'm going to set my size to maybe 20. See how that goes. If I push pretty hard, that looks pretty good. So however hard you push, we want some pretty thick lines. Okay, but now we're just going to make some kind of random water lines. So I'm just going to kind of start and make like a curvy line. I'm going to kind of branch off of that and make like another curvy line, like kind of parallel to it or perpendicular to it, you know, and then maybe kind of branch off of those a few times as well. Okay, maybe like another like kind of more perpendicular line. Maybe some branching off of that. Okay, so we have some branching off, some perpendicular, like so. Just a few, nothing too crazy. Maybe I'll do one more like right there. Okay, and then where they come together, we just want to kind of thicken them up. So whether they're perpendicular or not, we're just going to kind of make some curvy lines to thicken up where they come together. So this perpendicular one here, I'm going to make some curvy lines to bring those together. And then even where they just kind of, we just kind of branched off, we're going to kind of thicken that up in the middle too with like a little curvy line. Okay, so do that everywhere. So curvy line, curvy lines. And don't worry about like what you're covering up on your fish. I didn't really even like mention that, but just kind of wherever they go, we're gonna like lower the opacity and stuff. So we'll still be able to see everything a lot better, but we just want some good natural kind of water lines. Okay, so make sure you do that everywhere they come together. So that looks great. Thicken up any lines that you might need to. And then we're also just gonna make some quick like weird shapes. So I'm gonna make some kind of like little blobs. Not a ton of these, but just some, maybe some smaller ones. Some can go like off the canvas. Okay, so just maybe like a few of those. And then I'm also going to make some quick lines along my water lines. So just here and there, I'll kind of add some quicker, smaller lines. Again, maybe some more like little bubbly lines. But again, nothing too crazy, just here and there to kind of bring it all together a little bit more. Okay, and then maybe like a few just like dots as well. So just like a few quick dots kind of here and there. Maybe with the lines or with the blobs or just kind of on their own, kind of whatever works. Okay, and then that's it for that part. So we need to make a shadow of it, and then we need to lower the opacity of it. So first our shadow. So layer menu, let's make a duplicate of this layer. So slide to left and hit duplicate. Grab the bottom one, click on it and turn on alpha lock. Grab our shadow color again, third one on the top row. Back to our layer menu, this one with alpha lock, click on it and click fill layer. Click the N and set it to multiply. And then arrow tool, we're going to move it down and to the right, just like we did with our fish. So now we have like some overlapping shadows and stuff. That's good. We want them on top of our fish, obviously. So that looks beautiful. Okay. We are going to go to our layer menu, click on this layer and turn off alpha lock. And now we still have our dry ink brush and we have our new color selected, third one on the top row. So the biggest thing is that moving it down and to the right for this left some gaps at the top left corner. So we're going to fix those gaps. So like where this line is, I'm just going to extend it off the screen where it kind of cuts off there, like so, because that's like naturally like this line extends and so our shadow is coming from it. Same thing here, if we can see it, maybe just like a quick extension of these lines off the top and left corner. Same thing with this bubble here, we'll kind of extend that. Same thing with this bubble on the left side that came off, we'll extend that. Okay, any other lines that maybe went off the left side, extend those. So nothing should look cut off. It should look like one, continuous piece that's coming from the top left corner. Okay, now it's a little dark. We're going to lower the opacity of both the shadow and the lines itself. So on our layer menu, let's click the M on this layer for our shadow layer. And we'll lower the opacity to maybe like 60% or so. And then for our line layer as well, click the N on that and we'll lower the opacity also maybe to like 60 to 70%. Okay, and then lastly, we're going to add some little like bubbles and kind of reflection in the water. So on our layer menu, let's add a new layer at the very top. Click the N, and this time we're going to set it to add. And we're going to use our original watercolor, the lighter one, the second one on the top row. And then for our brush, we're going to go under the spray paints category, the flicks brush. I have the opacity on that set to like 70, my size set to maybe 15. And I'm just going to go through and kind of tap around and create these little kind of bubbly sections. They're a lot lighter than everything. But yeah, I'm just going to kind of tap. You can drag your pen if you want, but it gets kind of crazy kind of fast. So I'm mainly just tapping in areas, kind of in clusters, to make some of this kind of fun, splattery, bubbly effect in this really light color. So on top of our fish, it's like lighter, and then on top of our water, it's a light blue. So that's kind of fun. So again, just a few kind of little sections of that. And then once that's done, that is actually it for our drawing today. So I hope that you had fun. I hope that you liked the way that yours turned out. I hope you maybe learned something new. If you enjoyed this tutorial, go ahead and give it a thumbs up here on YouTube. It really helps with the algorithm to show it to more people so that they can see it and follow along as well. If you would like to share your drawing on Instagram, I would love to see how it turned out. So go ahead and post it there and then tag me so that I can check it out. And while you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching.